How you present work to clients can actually make or break your client's experience, and whether or not you get approved or denied by your client. Hello lovely people, and welcome back to HanSelah, where I talk about all things to do with graphic design and running my own freelance graphic design business. Today I want to talk about something that is incredibly important if you are a graphic designer making work for clients, which is the art of presenting your work to clients. It's not about the designs itself, but it's how you showcase them. So let's dive right in. I also just need to hop on here quickly and apologize because I had this microphone in front of me the entire time, but I wasn't clicking record. So I am terribly sorry if the audio sounds terrible. I will work on that and remember to click record next time. When we create something amazing, naturally we want our clients to love it as much as we do. But beware, because sometimes our beautiful designs can get lost if they're not presented in the correct way. That is where thoughtful presentation comes in. Before we start, I want to quickly introduce the newest member of our family. He is the littlest little one. His name is Otis, and he is a tiny little miniature Dachshund sausage dog. If you watch my videos, you will know Ollie already, so Oti is a little brother that we got for Ollie. He's still very small and he likes to cry, so he's going to be chilling on my lap while I record this video, but I'm sure he'll just go straight to sleep. Now, we all start somewhere. I'm embarrassed to admit it myself, but I also, too, when I was at university, I used to save a JPEG of my logo designs and just email them off to client. I know, I can't believe it. Terrible stuff. Do not ever do that if you're a designer doing that right now. Not only is it a security risk, but it also makes you look like a really lazy designer. Now I'm sitting years down the line and I don't even offer just a logo to my clients because it's so much more than just a logo. I actually have an entire structure and presentation format that I follow, and different presentation formats depending on the client and the brief and the requirements. I spend just as much time on the presentation as I do on the actual designs that fill the presentation. So when you're presenting work to your client, you should put in as much effort as you did for the actual logo and the designs and the patterns and the templates that you were making. That same effort should go into how you present the work to your client. So today I'm going to show you an example of how I present work to clients, but again, just note, not all my presentations look like this. I rotate between a few different presentation templates, depending on the brief, the requirements, who the client is, what they need, and so on. But ultimately, this is what my presentations kind of look like and what they are filled with. Now, I created this brand identity called Sunbliss a couple of months ago. You may have seen the video. It's done so well on YouTube. I can't believe it. I'm so proud. It's sitting on 51,000 views right now, which is my most viewed video. Crazy stuff. So thank you for all the love and support. If you haven't seen that video, I have linked it in the description so you can actually know how this logo and brand identity was created. But today I'm going to take all of those elements and put them into a client presentation for you to see. This is not a real client. It is a passion project that I did a couple of months ago, and now I am simply just making a passion project presentation for a client. Now, you always want to start with a cover page and a content page and populate them so the client always knows what to expect from the presentation. And if they're looking for something specific, they can go to their contents page, look at the page number, and then navigate through the presentation. Usually on the cover page, I will put some sort of image that relates closely to the brand. I don't like to put my own designs on the cover page just because it's kind of like a surprise and they're still waiting to see what they're getting. So I know some designers do like to put it, but personally, my personal preference is I don't. Also on the contents page, you'll see that I have a menu on the left bar, which is navigation. So the client can also navigate through the presentation on the left and know exactly what to expect at all times and know what section that they are in when they're going through the presentation. Also, if you hear any squeaks, I'm so sorry. My chair is like really wonky and it keeps squeaking at me. Moving on from the contents page, we go into understanding the brand, which basically has a little blurb about the brand story and a beautiful image to support it. Then we move into the brand foundations. This consists of the brand purpose, brand mission, brand values, and brand vision. This is obviously all included when I do brand strategy as well as the brand identity. So I will list the brand purpose and then list 3 or 4 of the purpose keywords, and then the same for the brand mission, and then list 3 distinct visions that the brand wants to achieve. I will then move into the brand values. I will then do a paragraph about what brand values are and then list the brand values that pertain to that specific client, as well as a descriptor for each of those values and how it relates directly to that client. After the brand values, we move on to the brand positioning. So this consists of the target audience as well as the brand's personality. The target audience, I will usually put a couple of images to represent who they are. I will also write a blurb and a psychographic about them. Sometimes I will even do a user persona if they want to go really in depth into their target audience. I also like to list the age bracket, the gender, and the LSM for their target audience. Moving on to the brand personality, I like to use these little sliders to move them up and down according to the personality of the brand, and it's also a nice visual for clients to look at. Moving on to the creative direction, the mood board is always the approved mood board that the client has approved in the first round of presentations, which is the mood board presentation, which gets done before this presentation. And I will also list out a few keywords that relate to the creative direction and how it links to the brand. Moving on to the color palette, I always like to include the color palette. I give a little blurb about why those colors are good for the brand, so why I chose them essentially. I will also rename the colors into something that matches the brand's personality. I will list the hex color codes in this one. When I do the brand guideline document, which is what I send at the end of the project, those will have the RGB and the CMYK color codes as well. But just for the presentation, I put in the hex codes, and then I will also put the color psychology on the next page, because color psychology is actually a huge part of graphic design and people actually don't know much about it. But color plays a huge role for us as graphic designers because colors can actually subconsciously change the way you think about something. So it's always good for their clients to know what their colors mean and how it impacts their target audience, their customer or consumer. After I've given some information about color psychology, we then move on to the logo suite. Now each logo suite will change depending on the brief and the client and the requirements and what they needed specifically from me, but these are the most common types of logos that each client will receive. One is the primary logo. I will give a blurb about what it is, where to use it, how it's used, and often I will put little arrows with little descriptors about the logo to give more information. Then we move into the secondary logo, which can either be stacked or horizontal, and lastly the logo mark, the submark, or the brand mark. And then I like to often do a little overview with a bunch of different versions of the logo on different backgrounds. Moving on to typography, I will do a blurb about each of the fonts that I used, why I chose them, how they are good, whether they're web fonts, whether they are good for print, whether they are descriptive. I will also state whether they are free or paid, because not all fonts are free. Please be very careful when you are a graphic designer. You can't be going around willy-nilly using fonts like crazy. You have to check the licenses for each specific font, and not only just check the license, you have to make sure you can actually use it on that platform. For example, you may be able to use a font in packaging, but you may not be able to use it on a website, and vice versa. So make sure that you have the correct license that you are using for the font and for where you're going to be placing that font. I like to get a lot of my fonts from Envato Elements, which I have linked in the description below if you want to go and check them out. Moving on to the fonts in action, often I will do a website mock-up, but for this presentation I've just done an Instagram post, keeping it short and sweet and simple, just so the client can see what their fonts are actually kind of looking like. Using mockups like this completely transforms the flat designs into something tangible and real. This helps your client visualize it in the real world, in situ, and how the design will actually look once it's rolled out. So you can put mockups on t-shirts and billboards and stickers and promotional items and cars and anything you want to really get across what the branding will look like for your client, because clients are not creative people. They're not like us designers. They can't see what we can see, which is why they come to us in the first place. So you really have to give them all the bells and whistles to show them what it could potentially look like. This is why you can never just hand over a JPEG to a client and tell them to imagine it on something. Show them. We are visual people. We have that ability to put the design onto a building, put it on a sticker, put it on a book, put it on a mug. So look at this, just simply by placing this little Instagram post on a mockup, it gives a realistic preview of how it will actually look, and it starts to tell a story. It's no longer just a logo. And when clients see their designs beautifully brought to life like this in a mockup format, it really builds trust with you as a designer in your skills, and it also builds excitement for the client. They're more likely to see the value in your work when they see it like this in situation or in situ in real life. And by seeing it like this, they can feel confident in your vision. The next time you finish a project, don't just send over the JPEG. Always make sure you mock it up and put it in the beautiful presentation like this. After I've done the fonts in action, I then move on to the next section of the presentation, which is the brand pattern. Usually I start off with the inspiration, where I got the inspiration and a blurb, and then I'll mock it up. So currently I've just put it on a screen, and then I've done some sticker designs. Again, these mockups, super important. A lot of the times I make my mockups myself, or I will go into Envato Elements. I quickly want to interrupt here and tell you one more thing, since we are all learning together through the internet. I have recently partnered with giveinternet.org, which is a company that basically aims to give internet and laptops to underprivileged students. If you click the link in my bio, you'll be taken to a place where you are able to donate something, and this will go towards giving internet to young underprivileged students who want to learn but don't have the resources to be able to. Every donation that is made through my link will be doubled by one of their donors. So if you donate $5, you will actually be donating $10. The internet has provided so many amazing things for me. I've been able to learn and do and grow my business through it, and I can't wait to be able to help someone else do that for their business and their growth and their education. So shout out to Give Internet and the team over there for what they're doing. Okay, so moving back onto the presentation. We're now on the social media side of the presentation. Obviously, this will change depending on the brief and the requirements, whether they need social media templates or not, whether they need packaging or not, and so on and so forth. I always like to do little simple mockups that I actually just make myself, and then on this page I added in a human element, which is the hand. It's always good to have some sort of human element to create that connection. People are more inclined when they see something human. And then lastly, I always include an overview page, which is basically an entire overview of their whole brand identity, mocked up nice and beautifully. They can really see the vibe and the colors and just everything come together. And finally, I end off with a thank you page. Don't forget that you need to include a confidentiality clause in all your presentations. This is super important if you're doing client work. It basically just means that the client agrees that they cannot share or distribute or redistribute this presentation or any of the assets that are in this presentation, because you never know, a client might take this presentation and then take it off to go and get printed without your knowledge and without finishing the project. So having this clause in your presentation is vital if you are going to be doing work with clients. And I also include a confidentiality clause in all of my design contracts, which I will talk about in another video. But always make sure that you have that laid out, and don't export your presentations at high quality format. Always do them at a small file size so that the quality of the images in the presentation aren't able to actually be copied or correctly used if a client decides to break the confidentiality clause. So now you have seen an example of a presentation that you can send through to your clients. So next time, please do not ever just send a JPEG over email or WhatsApp. Oh my goodness. I know some designers work over WhatsApp with their clients. I do not do that at all. I also do not work over DM. If a client wants to work with me, they have to contact me on my website, and everything is done through email. Now that you've seen all the presentation come together and the final overview page, you can see that you must rather take the extra time to put in that extra effort into your presentation so that the client can really get a feel for what they are signing up for. Use mockups, add context, and make your design shine. Just remember that we are visual storytellers. That's what we do. That is our job role, our job description. So tell your client's story visually. The best part about making these presentations is you can make a presentation template and then reuse the same template across all your different clients, but just obviously changing it to suit their specific needs and their brand vibe and their essence. I hope you found this video helpful and that you really enjoyed it. I also hope that you really enjoyed meeting our newest little family member, Otis. He has been sleeping so nicely the entire video. I can't believe it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and drop a comment. Let me know how you present your work to clients. If you want to see another video similar to this, click right over here. I also just need to hop on here quickly and apologize because I had this microphone in front of me the entire time, but I wasn't clicking record. So I am terribly sorry if the audio sounds terrible. I will work on that and remember to click record next time. Okay, now goodbye everybody. Have a lovely day and I'll see you soon. Bye.